stop the abductions. You must stop extrajudicial killings. We will not come here to listen to your stories. You have abducted someone. His family is crying, and you are here telling us stories. Enough is enough. Extrajudicial killings and disappearances must end now. We must stop this madness. We must stop these evil things you are doing to us. It is not right to abduct someone and not present them to court. And you are here telling us stories about... Let me speak. I will sit down. This is not right. Why should they abduct someone and instead of producing them to court, they come here to start telling us stories about, I don't know, my client did this. Your client what? Then what are we supposed to do? If the people who are supposed to protect us have turned out to be the greatest threat to our security.
On Monday, businesses will not open in Nairobi. Responsible businessmen will not come to town. In cities and towns across the Republic will be no activity. Billions will be lost. Some people will be hurt.
I'm not going.
Madam.
Don't touch me.
Okay.
I'm not going. I'm not going. I'm not cooperating and I'm not going.
What is your right?
Why are you arresting me?
Why do you protest?
Why? Give me a reason. I protest because you're killing us.
Who is killing you?
You police. You're killing us in our communities. Poor communities. Why do you want to arrest me? People power. People's power. People's power. When we lose our fear, they lose their power. When we lose our fear, they lose their power. When we lose our fear, when we lose our fear, no more killings. No more killings.
We'd like to see them on the streets with us on Wednesday. Wednesday, come one, come all, bring a friend, tell a friend to tell a friend. It's going to be a big day. We are marching to take our petition to State House. So you better be there and you better be counted. As the revolutionary Gen Z movement, we are going to be present and we are going to lead the march to State House. So you better show up. Come, don't be afraid. Kukufa ni once, guys. Unaweza nyongwa na nyama ukufe. Mukuje.
Okay, also, my name is Koganda Collins. I just want to add that come one, come all. We've seen old folks here, that is our parents who are also here with us. And we encourage that on Wednesday, the march is not only for the Gen Zs, but the march is for everybody who wants a new Kenya. The older generation that we've seen here on church, most of them actually say that they will be there with us. As my colleague has said, that utakufa, hata kama uko kwa nyumba. And the government proved on the last protest that we had that you don't need to be silent for you to be killed. Your silence can also make you be killed. So you're not guaranteed that when you're silent, you're safe in this country. Come, let's celebrate and let's submit our petition to the parliament on comrades who actually lost their lives. It's sad that they had to pay an ultimate price of life to save this nation, and it's a beginning of everything. On Wednesday we'll finish what we started. Yes, thank you.
Have anything to say?
Yes, we were here at All Saints Cathedral listening to Mama Kennedy and the other mother of another fallen soldier. It's very painful listening to parents who 1 year down the line, the scars are still fresh, the wounds are still fresh, and they still can't actually make peace with the fact that they lost their sons. And so it is that pain that is driving us. It is the driving force. And that's why we are saying that 1 million plus march is not a joke. On 25th June, Wednesday, we are going to come out in huge numbers. We shall march to State House. and this is not a joke, that is the final destination. Last year, our goal was to go to National Assembly, to Parliament. We reached. This year, our goal is to go to State House, the house on the hill. We shall get there. We shall get there. Any Kenyan who is not in Nairobi and will not make it to Nairobi, wherever you are, there's the closest State House. There's a State House in Mombasa, in Nakuru, in Kisumu. There's one in Machakos, I'm being told. There's also a state lodge in Sagana. All those state things, we are going to occupy all those spaces because we are exercising people power under Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya. All sovereign power belongs to the people, and the people shall. The people shall what? Shall. So that is what we are going to exercise. No work, no traveling, no nothing. It's all legs walking to the streets to bring back sanity in Kenya. Fight for justice for all our fallen soldiers. Fight for compensation. Fight for good governance. Fight for affordable health for everybody. Fight for affordable education for all. Fight for reparation for the families that have lost their loved ones and those that have not been served with justice. Fight for our food security. Fight to end police brutality and extrajudicial killing. Fight for constitutionalism and rule of law. All right? We are fighting for all that. So if you feel attached to all that we've said, come out on Wednesday, the 25th of June. Let us march together as we sing on the streets songs of freedom.
Don't stay at home.
All right? Don't stay at home.
Yeah. As a leader, when you've been given a task to rule a community or to lead a country, your main mandate is to protect lives. Without lives, you cannot lead anybody. So one thing, and I'm saying to the next leader in this country, the reason why people are going to the street are not because we want to go to the street. But number one, we are going to the street because the human lives are not being touched according to how we expected. If you touch a human lives, you touch a peace. But if you don't touch a human life, you touch trouble.
The very biggest problem we have in Africa is democracy. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you the reason as to why democracy is the biggest problem we have in Africa. I'm going to tell you the reason as to why democracy is one of the things that has brought a lot of troubles in Africa. I'm going to tell you why Africa has fallen and Africa has failed to stand because of the so-called democracy. I'm going to tell you why. And that is why when Ibrahim Traore came in power, when Ibrahim Traore overtook the government in Burkina Faso, the number one thing he said, one amongst the first things that he placed across, he said, I cannot work under the democracy that has no meaning. And he referred to many presidents here in Africa who tried to prove to people that democracy is really what they want to follow. For example, he took an example of President William Ruto and he addressed him. He said, if democracy is killing people, if democracy is stopping people from expressing how they feel about your governance, from expressing how they feel about your leadership, from accessing the government premises, from accessing the parliament, from actually not speaking out whenever there is a problem in the country, then that democracy, I do not want it. If democracy is killing people anytime they're trying to demonstrate and trying to express their feelings out to the public, out to the government, then I do not want that democracy. And he said, we've seen people being prevented from entering the parliament, from actually expressing themselves, from demonstrating. We've seen people doing that. We've seen that happening to people. And whoever, like those people who are doing those same things, are these people who are talking and are the people who all the times embrace and speak about democracy. One thing I want you to know is that democracy was brought to us by the West. And my question is, do you think democracy that was brought to us by the West was a good thing? Do you think it was a good thing? Do you think it was something that really was meant to help us? Because right now, as we are talking, in a country like Burkina Faso, in a country like Niger, in a country like Mali, democracy is something they've said we are not going to embrace something that does not add any single value to the people of our countries. And right now, those three countries I've mentioned, they are doing well without the following of democracy. That is why Captain Ibrahim Traore said, I cannot follow democracy if that is what democracy is. If killing people is what democracy is, I'm not going to follow that democracy. If destroying the lives of people, if stopping people from expressing themselves, from demonstrating, is what democracy really means, then I'm not going to follow the so-called democracy. Take a look.
Whether you're a Democrat or not, how can you impose democracy by killing millions of people? It's a dictatorship, not democracy. You can't impose it. Those who call themselves Democrats have seen scenes where people were prevented from joining assemblies. We've seen scenes where forces landed in assemblies to force deputies to take texts. We've seen more terrible scenes where people kill their demonstrators. But they call themselves Democrats, and we're called Persians. If that's democracy, I repeat, we don't want this democracy. And when you see incompetence, they don't seek to know what the real meaning of the word democracy is. They cling to the definition given to them by imperialism and start talking about democracy without really knowing the basics. That's incompetence. You have to know, look at the world to redefine democracy as we want it in Africa. Incompetence hides behind freedom. Remember, there is no individual freedom. It's a fact.
2 days ago, the president of Mali, Assimi Goïta, was just added some other 5 years by the parliament of Mali, which means the guy is going to lead for the next 5 years until 2030 is when now things will begin changing or something like that. Then he has promised that people will now go back to vote. But before they go back to vote, they're going to make sure, even Ibrahim Traore said, they're going to make sure that the way and the system of voting and choosing leaders is going to be a very different one, not like the one that has been happening in the past days, because that is how they've been using the systems to elect to us leaders that we've not elected them ourselves in the name of democracy. And the question still remains, do you think democracy was brought to us? Do you think this democracy, because people are dying in these countries, people are dying in Africa simply because they are trying to speak their minds out, do you think this democracy that was brought to us was something that was meant to help us? I want you to take your time and listen to Shahid BOLSEN. This is America. These are one of the people who brought democracy to Africa. But do they really even follow the same democracy? Do they even really use the same democracy that they brought to us? They gave to us democracy. They said we must follow the way of democracy, the rule of democracy. Do you think even themselves they follow the way of democracy? Take a look at this video. I will come back and talk about it.
Oh, America isn't a democracy. America is an oligarchy. It's a plutocracy. It's ruled by the rich. Of the rich, by the rich, and for the rich. Democracy in America is just a smokescreen. It's a charade that they perform every election cycle just to pacify you, to make you believe that you have some stake in the system. But I mean, look at the reality. For roughly the first 100 years of American so-called democracy, only white male property owners could vote. The so-called land of the free was built on the exclusion of the vast majority of its people from the democratic process. This gradually expanded to include all white males and then theoretically black males, but not in practice, in theory. Eventually, they had to grant the vote to women and Native Americans. Imagine that. The indigenous people of that land were the last to be given the right to vote in that land. What kind of democracy is that? But they never wanted power in the hands of the people. As the franchise of voting expanded to include those who were not white male property owners, the real power moved further and further away from the democratic process. They dangled the right to vote in front of you to make you think that you're a participant in power. But they kept the real power in the hands of the wealthy elite, more and more so over the years. As the right to vote expanded, the relevance of the vote contracted. I said no one ever intended for power to be in the hands of the people, and it never has been. I mean, just look at how money controls politics in America today. The Supreme Court's decision on the Citizens United case opened the floodgates for corporate money in elections. Billionaires and corporations pour millions and millions of dollars into political campaigns, drowning out the voices of ordinary people, of the whole electorate. They're hiring candidates. They're writing laws. They're purchasing policies that serve their interests. This isn't democracy, it's oligarchy. When a handful of wealthy individuals can dictate policy and sway elections, obviously democracy doesn't exist. Politicians just do a tour of duty in government to prove their loyalty to their funders before moving to highly paid positions in the private sector, working then for the same people that they worked for all along. The democracy they have is the one they always intended to have, which is one in which only the rich and the owners of the society have any say. You have the right to free speech only because no one listens to you. And where has this led? Where has this system of yours led? Well, it's led to the only place that ever could lead. It's led to the creation of an unaccountable oligarchical elite who don't see you as anything but entries in their accounting books, either as assets that they own or liabilities that they need to eliminate. And through globalization, this nation within a nation, because that's all the rich are, just a nation within a nation, they became a global nation. They became an empire. And America is just one of the territories under their sovereignty. Oh, they colonized you. America became a colonized country, conquered by their very own monopolistic plutocratic elites. And they're subjugating you and the entire collective West the same way that you colonized and subjugated our countries. They've created global institutions, imperial institutions like BlackRock, like Vanguard, like State Street. That's why I talk about the owners and controllers of global financialized capital. The owners organized institutions of control, and that's what BlackRock is. BlackRock is like the Ministry of Imperial Expansion. It's like the colonial office of the old British Empire. And we in the global South, in the Muslim world, recognize it as such. Nobody likes BlackRock. Nobody likes the fact that we have to deal with this now, this predatory monster that you made, that your system created, because you created the most insane wealth gap in history. You know, you brag about how brilliant your economy is, how your brilliant economy has created more billionaires than any other economy, as if that's a sign of economic health, not economic deformation. You know, you don't say that about anything else. For anything else, such kind of a disproportion like that is seen as ugly and unnatural, like if someone has abnormally large teeth or something, or like those guys who lift weights in the gym but only work upper body muscles, so they have little spindly chicken legs. Your economy is a mutant. The point of a healthy economy is not to produce huge disparity, but you brag about it. Even as you hate BlackRock, while you made BlackRock, you created this class. You created this nation of parasitic wealth hoarders and the institutions they use to organize their economic power. The institutions of the feudal elite. The institutions that they use to consolidate and expand their control over everything. Well, nobody likes it, but you did it. You created this super predator, and now we all have to deal with it. And of course, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, it's not the first time you did something like this. The East India Company, the United Fruit Company, they were earlier versions of these types of institutions, these institutions of economic imperialism. And of course, for all of these institutions, the current ones and the previous ones, their main business has always been war and pillage. Because the fact is, you've never really come up with another way to make money. All your technology is only made possible by vicious exploitation, slavery, and violence. You know, it bewilders me. Every argument that Westerners make to substantiate their claim that their so-called civilization is superior, every argument is materialistic. We have nice things. We invented all the technology of the modern world and so on. You don't realize that when you make that argument to the global South, well, we're living in the background where all that technology comes from. It comes from our minerals, our rare earths, our mines, our ravaged environments, and our subjugated labor. We're living in the part of the Apple logo where the bite is. So that doesn't impress anyone in Africa or Asia or Latin America. You have nice stuff. Yeah, we know how you got it. We know how you got it. And it wasn't by brilliance, it was by brutality. It was then and it is now. So you should really stop using that argument. It's self-incriminating.
This democracy was brought to us by the West. Yeah, let me talk about the Europe, not only America and all that. It is something that was fashioned to come and govern the West. Yeah. But you find out that even the same people who had to fashion democracy to come and begin functioning in Africa, they are not using the same democracy. They are not following the rule of democracy. America is being ruled by the rich. The rich people are the ones who are ruling America. They lie, they keep on lying to people every time. They go to the ballot, they vote in the name of voting for the next leaders, for the leaders who are going to take over after other leaders have gone out. But at the end of the day, the rich people in America get to decide who becomes the president, who becomes the leader, which means the democracy that they are claiming to be using or to be following, it is just but a smokescreen of lies. And therefore, the same people who brought democracy to Africa are not following that democracy, but they want African people to be able to follow that democracy. Okay? So in Africa, we are lied about democracy, but the same things that are happening in Europe, in the United States, is the same thing that is happening in Africa. We wake up every other day, every morning, during the time of elections. We go to the ballot. We vote for our leaders that we want them to become our leaders into the government. And at the end of the day, after voting for them, what happens? We end up having leaders who we never voted them into the government, who we never voted them into power, because the system gets to decide who becomes the president, who becomes the leader, who sits where and who sits where. Not the people decide. And that is why if you walk in these African countries, those leaders who are very much influential, who are loved by the people of their countries, do not become the leaders. Why? Because people and leaders who are loved by the people, they are loved because of their principles, they are loved because of their stance, they are loved because of who they are, they are loved because of the kind of people that they are. They are loved because they're people who follow the rule, who listens to the voice of the people. And whenever a leader starts listening to the voice of the people, definitely this leader is going to start doing right. And whenever this leader starts doing right, it means he's going to get high number of followers. He's going to get many people actually standing behind him, many people supporting him and all that. But the West does not want a leader who listens to the voice of the people, a leader who has the interests of people at heart. And that is why they keep on hunting Captain Ibrahim Traore day and night. They keep on hunting him because Captain Ibrahim Traore is a leader who listens to the voice of the people, who has the interests of people at heart. Same to Abdurrahman Chiani, same to Assimi Goita of Niger and Mali respectively. Okay? So, these leaders who are very influential in Africa, they don't get to become the presidents. They don't get to become leaders because it is not people who vote for these governments. And this is something many people have not been able to know in Africa. This is something a lot of voters in Africa do not know. Because how comes every other time someone who has a big number, someone that every people predict this one is going to become the president, this one is going to become our leader, they end up not becoming leaders? It is because we are not the people who are voting. We are not the people who are choosing leaders. These leaders are being chosen, like they are chosen for us by the system that we don't know, by the system that many of you do not know. Number one, they look at many things. Can we really work with this person? Can this person trick his people to believe that whatever they are saying is true? And that is why you find out that leaders end up lying to the people they are leading. Leaders end up doing very bad things, very bad mistakes, to an extent that the country gets to demonstration like what Kenya is going through right now, what Nigeria is going through, what Uganda is going through, and many other African countries. They get to go on the road, like, in Kenya on Monday, this coming Monday, on 7th of this July, there are going to be very mass demonstrations in this country. Why? Because people are tired with bad governance. How does it get there. It gets there the moment the leader begins listening not to his people, but listening to the outside powers that are pushing him to do whatever the things they are doing. What am I saying? What I'm saying is countries have been destroyed in Africa because of the so-called democracy. That if we want anything, we must take the petition to the parliament so that parliamentaries or the member of parliaments will discuss and come with a decision. Whatever the parliamentaries will have discussed is what will be brought to the light, and it is what will be the law. So any petition, anything that people want, they must take it through the parliament. So the government sometimes takes advantage by coming up with very foolish and stupid, very nonsensical laws, and they want to make it right to people. They take it to the parliament. They pay the parliamentaries. They tell the parliamentary, you must pass this bill. You must pass this petition. You must pass it. So they pay them. People are paid. They get money they put on their pockets. They end up passing bills that are oppressing the people of Africa because they've been given something by the government, because they've been paid by the government. And the reason is because of the democracy. We must follow the rule, the way of democracy. And African people ends up suffering, going through difficult times. They end up crying. They end up being killed because whenever they feel like whatever the bill that was passed does not favor us, what do they do in return? They get tired. They start going on the road and begin demonstrating. That is when now they will start killing them. They will start destroying them. They will start tear gassing them. They will start doing every bad thing to them, like what is happening right now. And the beginning of all these things is the so-called democracy. It is the so-called democracy. And that is why in South Africa, Julius Malema has never become the president of South Africa, because he's a man of principles. He's a man who is against imperialism. He's a man who is against white supremacy. That is why he has never become the president. Right now, as we are talking in South Africa, we only have two leaders. We have Cyril Ramaphosa and we have Julius Malema. But Cyril Ramaphosa is about to finish his term. Julius Malema is the only influential leader we still have in South Africa. But let me tell you something. Another leader will come from nowhere, not known, but he will be made the president of South Africa, and Julius Malema will still remain there. Why? Not because Julius Malema is not loved by the people, but because the systems of elections in Africa has been tampered with. Leaders are being chosen for the people. People do not choose leaders by themselves. Because they know Julius Malema, if he happens to take power, he will do away with all the white man supremacy. He will do away with everything that connects the West and all that. They will not allow him to access power. That is why in Kenya, Raila Odinga has never become the president, but he has always been fighting for the people of Kenya, for the people of Africa, for the people of Kenya for all this time, but he has never been made the president. Why? Because the system wants people who can be able to work with the West very efficiently, very smoothly, without any problems. That is what they want. So they keep on lying to us. They keep on forcing us into democracy. And then through that democracy, we are lied to. We are blindfolded. We think we are the ones voting for leaders or choosing leaders. But at the end of the day, the truth is that we are not the ones who are choosing the leaders for ourselves. That is what is happening. But even the same country, that is the same people who are forcing democracy to us, they are not using the same democracy. They are not following the same democracy, but they are asking us to follow the rule or the way of democracy. Which and what is that? Do you think we are on the right track? Do you think we really need to continue following the rule of democracy and the way of democracy? Do you think so? They know what they are hiding behind the so-called democracy. And that is why every other time they want us to choose leaders through voting for them through elections. But through these elections, that is where they keep on manipulating, they keep on destroying, they keep on oppressing black people. It is something many people do not know. It is something you might not be able to know. You might not be able to understand. But that is the truth of the matter. Tell me what you think on the comment section. I'll do my best to make sure I read all the comments and give a response where possible. This is the African Streamline. I am Atamba Heti. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for always being here. Thank you for choosing this channel. If it's your first time to be here, don't forget to subscribe. For the returning subscribers, I really salute you. God bless.